Hey guys, just as a bit of a disclaimer before we start this pilot, periodically throughout the recording, you may hear some buzzing. We had a fridge in the background that is quite noisy, and we didn't realize until after the pilot that it could be heard on the recording. So, sorry, but it's still good and you should still listen to it all. But after this pilot episode, we don't have that anymore, so we shouldn't have that problem. Enjoy the pilot episode of Act 4. Hey everybody, welcome to our podcast, Act 4. My name's Peyton. You've got Connor here.
Yes, sir.
And we got Joe in the corner.
Hey.
And this is our podcast about movies. It is your go-to post-movie podcast. What do you guys think about that?
And by post-movie, we mean we're going to cover movies that came out like a decade ago.
Yes, sir.
It really has been over a decade. The first episode, which we're going to cover right after this, it'll launch at the same time as this pilot, is actually going to be the Cars trilogy. We don't really want to dive into that too much right now, but that was when was that, Joe?
It was 2006, 2011, and then 2017.
They really dragged
So
that
it
out
spanned the
over a
entire
whole
last decade.
Wow. So this is our pilot episode. We're not really going to dive into any movies on this one, I don't think, but we did want to just talk about movies. Yeah, whatever happens, happens. This is just for anyone listening. If anyone's listening, some people we might not get any listeners. Honestly,
X for doubt.
Hey. We got us three, baby.
That's it. This is just for us. But we still want people to get to know us, get to know what movies we like. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about movies. What's your favorite part of going to the movies?
Favorite part of going to the movies? I like it when the chairs are able to recline so I can get comfy while I'm watching a movie.
Have you ever fallen asleep in one of the recliners?
I have.
I have, yeah.
I watched Rogue One 3 times in the opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Once with some buddies, the second time with my mom, and I went the third time with my dad. And both me and my dad fell asleep in that movie. I fell asleep because I hadn't slept in about 32 hours. He fell asleep because he just got off work. So
The one time
good.
I ever remember falling asleep during a movie, I was way younger, and I went with my family, and we were going to see the movie Hop, which is an entire 2-hour
What
movie.
a movie.
It's like a 2-hour movie about the Easter
Yes,
Bunny.
sir.
It's such a I don't know how it got greenlit.
When Easter rolls around, we got to
But,
do Hop.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But
We're
I
gonna
went
do
to
back
that
to
movie.
back The Passion of the Christ and Hop back to back.
Oh, yes.
All right, so what about it?
But me and my dad both fell asleep. And my mom loves to bring it up because every time we talk about going to see a movie, and it's me and my dad, and we have to try to convince my mom to want to go with us because me and my dad really want to go watch movies in the theaters, but my mom's but we can just wait and watch it here and it not be as expensive. But me and my dad were we gotta go though, so we're always having to pitch the movies to her to go. And she's I'm never gonna forget that one time that I dragged y'all to a movie and it was to go see Hop, and we both fell asleep because it's just so funny because
Yeah, I don't think I've ever fallen asleep at a movie theater. I feel like when I'm at the movie theater, I just feel this drive to not fall asleep, even when I'm super tired. We went and watched 1917 last week, and I was so tired, but I forbid myself to fall asleep or think about falling asleep because I wanted to watch the movie. Because first of all, it was really good.
I
but
think that
also,
movie would
really
be
good.
impossible to fall asleep to.
Yeah, I was still so tired. Even if I had taken some sleeping pills and stuff, I still was gonna be I'm not sleeping because I want to see how this ends because I was just really into that movie. Also, we're gonna try to stay out of spoiler territory for that movie because it came out very recently. But also if you don't want to know anything at all and you haven't seen it, which at the release of this episode it'll have been out for 2 weeks now.
No,
So because it came out last week and we're dropping this in a week.
I think it'll be
So it'll have
2 or 3
been
weeks,
2
somewhere
weeks
around there.
when this comes out. So if you're listening to this at launch date, which thank you for listening to this at launch date.
Props to you.
And you haven't seen 1917, possible mild spoilers. If you really want to avoid that, go listen to our Cars episode because I'm sure you've seen at least one of those, and then you can come back here after you've seen 1917. We're not really going to get into it. We're just going to gush about it. And if you don't want to hear anything at all, then, you know, that's on you.
I mean,
You've been
like, I'm
warned.
assuming what we're gonna talk about is like the like nature of the film and like how
Yeah.
it's like one shot. And I
And-
feel like most
well, it
people
looks like
like
one
know
shot,
that
yeah.
about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like already, even
It-
like before
it
before
is.
I saw it,
It's
I knew
beautiful.
that that's what it was. But like right
Yeah.
off like the jump, like the first shot, like it takes you like a good like 7 minutes maybe before you even can like try to pick out where a cut is. And like it's really impressive.
Yeah, it's startling. Like the start of that movie, I was just caught. Like I knew going into it was gonna be one shot, but it just freaked me out so much. I guess I wasn't prepared because I never saw. Did you guys ever see Birdman? Because I remember that was a really big deal because it was one shot. I didn't
Yeah.
ever watch it. I saw bits and pieces.
I've heard about it now because
But
of like watching
never
videos
seen
about
it.
1917 and like there's a lot of comparisons to that because that was like the last like big movie that did that type of
Yeah.
like filming to it. But I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but like I heard that it was kind of the same way. But like this movie, I hadn't really ever seen a movie that was of that style, and so like the whole first 15 minutes of the movie, my head was hurting because I was like, I just want you to cut. Like it's like ingrained into my brain to see
Like-
cuts every few seconds, you know, and it was
Like
just
it
weird.
really it started with like this like one like huge like back drawn shot and then it's like just this long dialogue and then I want to rewatch the movie so bad because I feel like I missed every single word that was said in that opening scene because in like for like the first like 20ish minutes of the movie and then I'd like force myself to stop paying attention to the filmmaking because like I was just gonna miss the plot.
I definitely can agree. I was watching the movie. I enjoy movies. I don't go for like the filming, or like the lighting, the cinematography, directors. I go to enjoy
you're
a
a
movie.
commoner.
Yeah, I'm a commoner. I go to enjoy a movie, but I definitely could tell, like it was one long take, and I could tell when it got cut sometimes. Like when things move in front of it, I know that's a cut because it's easy to do.
In a movie where it's supposed to appear seamless, the seams stand out, but not like in a weird way. Like they did them very well. But also, this was the first movie I think I'd ever seen where the cinematography was actually distracting for me in the best way possible.
I agree with that.
Like, I feel like the cinematography was so good that I had a hard time focusing on the dialogue and the story and the character development, which was good. There was also, I don't really want to go too deep into spoilers, but there was the kind of the twist that people weren't expecting in the movie, and it caught me just so off guard, and I thought that was phenomenal. The way they did it was so good. Like, this movie was planned out very well, and you could tell they planned it out, unlike other movies, especially trilogies that you see that they just don't plan out the trilogy well. They kind of start it out and it kind of trails off and it gets weird, you know, like Star Wars, the new one, and a bunch of other trilogies that you can tell they didn't have a clear plan, but this movie like had a plan from the beginning, and like I think it was very apparent.
I think I had one problem and one problem only with the movie. And that was
It was too good.
no, you didn't really get a good sense of time because it was one long take.
Yeah,
Time moved really fast in the movie, and it was really weird because it appeared seamless. Like it would go from like day to night, and you'd just be like, "What?" Or
Yeah.
night to day, and you're
well, I think they did a pretty good job because it was real time. I think the movie, and the way that they were able to make it real time, because if you don't know the premise of the story, if you haven't seen it and you're still listening because you don't really care that much, it is like they have to go on this journey, these two guys, and it's like a 6 to 8 hour journey. The movie's only 2 hours, but they find ways to speed it up. Like they end up riding in a car for part of it, and I think that makes up a lot of the time. And then when you talked about it going from night to day, the one real cut in the whole thing is when the dude passes out.
yes,
Yeah.
Like he gets knocked out. And so that's when I noticed it goes to nighttime. And I like to think, because that one, she said it was the next morning. He finds someone and they kind of stay next morning. So I think he was out through the night and woke up like in the morning, like when it was still dark. So I think it becoming light wasn't as weird because it was basically like almost like it wasn't the middle of the night. Like I think it felt like, because time did elapse. But yeah, it is weird to see a movie in real time because
supposed to be
that's
the 6.
unconventional, you know.
to be a
But
6
like
to
that
8 hour.
one jump in time, like when he like wakes up to say like he like looks at his watch and it's broken, and then like it really does start to like build the tension and like let the viewer know that like this is like it's starting to like pick up now, and like that you're getting into like the second half of the movie. And I think it does that really effectively, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So that came out very recently. That actually came out here in 2020. What movies in 2019 did you guys like really like? Like, I know like y'all are probably gonna say Joker, and we're gonna gush over that, but that's gonna get a lot of attention at award shows, Oscars, Golden Globes, all that stuff. But like, were there any maybe other movies? We can talk about Joker if you want to, but I feel like that gets a lot of talk. Were there maybe like movies that you really liked that maybe you felt like were underrated or underappreciated? Or maybe they didn't even come out this year, just movies you watched this year that you really liked. I don't know.
First one that comes to mind is Jumanji: The Next Level.
I watched that one recently.
Christmas, yeah.
I watched that over break with my family. We like had a night, so we rented the first Jumanji movie on Redbox, and then the next day we watched the second one. So we watched them like back to back, and like I wasn't expecting that much going into it, but like I really did enjoy both of them.
Yeah. I also saying like movies that came out in 2019. You talked about the Joker. We're definitely also gonna talk about Star Wars. Like Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
Endgame came out.
It was a big year for movies. Hey, Captain Marvel came out. I know Joe really loves Captain Marvel. He doesn't love Captain Marvel.
That's for another time. We don't
False.
got
when
enough
we do
time.
our Marvel.
False.
Yeah, we
stuff on
don't
Marvel.
we don't want to get into that.
I didn't hate Captain Marvel. Frozen 2 came out. I really, really liked Frozen 2.
Frozen 2 was pretty
Frozen 2 did not get nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars.
It did
Well,
at the
it did.
Golden Globes, but it wasn't nominated at the Oscars, which is surprising.
Which was kind of surprising because, like, the animation in that movie is just, like, breathtaking. Like, it's, like, a lot of the sequences that, like, take place in water and stuff like that throughout that movie are just, like, visually really, really great.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful movie. And that's the thing now also, though, with animation is, like, animation is so good. Because in the past, I feel like when you saw good animation stood out. But nowadays, I feel like animation is so consistently good that bad animation stands out more than anything. Because I think we're just used to great animation. Like, Pixar's really, like, paved the way on that. But now Disney animation's up there. DreamWorks has always been pretty consistent over the last decade. Like, I feel like just, like, animation has, like, just reached this really high apex, you know?
Yeah.
And so bad animation stands out
Yeah.
really bad. I don't know who is outside of our recording studio, but they are being very loud.
Very, very loud.
So we're sorry if you can hear
That
them.
is not cash money of them at all.
It's very not cash money. We even have a sign that says audio recording in progress. And
Like, we're trying our best.
Speaking
you know what, it's okay.
of,
It's going to be janky. but
Speaking
that's
of being cash money, the one meme I think about is Godzilla pulling off them glasses.
fine.
Godzilla came out in 2019. King of the Monsters.
I did not
didn't
see
watch that.
Godzilla.
Such a good movie.
Didn't that have 11 from Stranger Things in it?
It did. Yeah.
It did.
I know that. That's about all I know about that movie.
I remember.
Yeah, that's all I know. That's why I asked.
I was like, I saw the trailer and I was just like,
No, I
I don't know if I'm
remember.
gonna go pay to see that.
I remember looking at the reviews on it from the critics, and they were like, "All this was a bunch of big monster fights." And I was like, "Perfect, that's what I want." And then I get there, and it's like 5 big monster fights, and I was like, "This is not what you said at all." Like, I still have human drama, dude. Just give me the monsters fighting, and I will go pay to see that movie.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Aren't they like trying to do a thing now to where like they have like the like King Kong movie they did a couple years ago, now like this Godzilla movie, they're trying to like tie them all together in like this like monster
yeah.
universe
yeah.
thing.
Yes, they want a monster cinematic
At the
universe. That's like
end
their new thing.
end credit scene of Godzilla King of Monsters, we get the setup for Kong versus Godzilla,
Okay.
which I don't understand how that's going to go down. Like,
I just kind of love how that would also be marketed as the MCU, like the Monster Cinematic Universe.
oh yeah, you right?
You remember when the new Mummy movie came out with
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, and they were gonna do like a universe of like the classic monsters, like they were gonna do Mummy, Invisible Man, Dracula, like all of those, like the Universal monsters. The Universal wanted to make a cinematic universe. Do you guys remember when that was all happening?
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
kind of
I
a thing
heard
for a
about
little
that.
while. I feel like that would be pretty cool, but I don't understand why making it into a universe is crucial, because you're never
because
gonna
Marvel
have
made
a
a
team up.
universe and it was really
Well, no,
successful money wise,
but
and that's what
'cause-
everybody's trying to do
Because
now.
Marvel can do a team up though. Like,
I know.
you can't really
Yeah,
have
that's true.
the Mummy and the Invisible Man and Dracula all teaming up. Like, that it doesn't work out.
Like
the
as
same
far
way.
as a storyline with those characters go, is all of them fighting each other.
Pixar as a universe.
Yeah, the Pixar theory is one of my favorite theories ever. I do
Yeah.
love the Pixar theory, and that's my headcanon. I choose to believe that it is all the same universe.
They're never gonna get a team up. It's just there for having jokes in the background.
Yeah, and just being like the biggest thing that I think a lot of people are aware of, but maybe not everyone, is just the Easter eggs in Pixar movies are just so well placed. And I feel like we'll kind of talk about some of them in Cars, but we can talk about them now that way.
There's a lot in Cars.
There's a lot.
Like,
I mean, in all of them. But like Cars has some really just like blatant ones. Like also at the end of Cars. So in the trailers, or
Yeah.
not the trailers, the final credits at the end, they have like the classic Pixar scenes.
but they're
just
straight
with
up Cars.
but they do that so that way, what's his name? The dude whose voice is in every movie. He's
Mac.
Well, his name's
He's
Mac.
the
His name's
Abominable
Mac in the movie.
Snowman,
Yeah, but what's his
Ham.
name? It's like Rothenberger,
It's
or
John something.
it's John with an R. I'll look it
Yeah.
up. But so they do that whole scene
I
at
think
the
it's
end.
like Ratzenberger.
Yeah, that's who it
Could
is.
be
Yeah, it's
wrong.
Ratson.
Yeah.
I think that's it. But he at
the
the very
Underminer
end.
is his best character.
Well, because at the end the thing is
'Cause
like
that line is just
they're
iconic.
playing all the scenes where he's like in Pixar movies, but as Cars, and he's like, wow, that piggy bank car is a really great actor, and then he
And then like the
goes,
last line
Abominable
of it
Snowman
is like, man, they're like really cutting it cheap, getting the same guy over and over
yeah,
again.
yeah. He's like, wait a minute, and it's like they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna really just shoehorn in these Easter eggs. But there's like, the better ones, like we were talking about it earlier, like the Goodyear blimp says Lightyear. Like,
Oh yes.
that's,
Yeah.
that's like a really clever Easter egg that most people won't notice. And those are the kind of things I think Pixar, that's what I love about them, is they just hide those little things in there. And they like allude to like future movies. Like whatever their next movie coming out is they have Easter eggs about that. Like,
One of my favorite ones is that in Ratatouille, when he's going through the sewers and everything like that, and, like
Oh,
climbing
the
up the
shadow.
pipes, and there's the shadow of Doug. I remember when I like first realized that, I was like,
yeah,
gosh, it was
it's so
just
cool.
It
I
was-
saw it when we were watching Cars 3 in preparation for the first episode. You've got like the scene where they're all those supercars are training with crews, and she tells the one to like think of home, and they flash up the picture from the town in Coco. I don't know if y'all saw that, because he's
Yeah.
thinking of his home in Spain or in Mexico, or Mexico, and they show up the scene from like Coco, and I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. Now that like I'd seen Coco, it's like I recognize that, and so I really like that they think ahead and do that stuff. Is always really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. In Cars 2, I know we were talking about Cars a lot, but it's fresh on our mind. In Cars 2, when they go to Paris, they have Gustos.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought that was
in my
really
notes
funny.
on Cars too. I
Okay.
was like I saw that and I was just like, all right,
Isn't
I like
it?
this.
I think it's gas stoves.
It's
like,
gas-
yeah, it's
yeah,
gas
gas,
stoves.
Gas stoves.
like as in the
So
car
it's
front
like-
of gas, like gasoline.
GAS like gas, and then TOWS toes. Like it's as cliche of the car references as it gets, where they just
Yeah.
change the words
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
car related
maybe
things.
maybe we
100%.
should stop talking about cars, so that way we have stuff to talk about in the next episode, because I feel like that's all stuff we're really gonna dive into.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I really like about movies, is when you can tell that they thought about it and they really thought it out and they had a plan going into it, because I think that just makes it an overall better movie, which we'll definitely talk about it when we get into like over the summer. We're going to do Summer of Star Wars, and we're going to do a Star Wars movie every week, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that a lot, because the Star Wars movies, there really was never a plan. Like even in the original trilogy, you can tell that George Lucas didn't have a very clear plan. And so are there any other movies like that y'all can think of off the top of your hand that you can be like, they didn't really have a plan? Because it's especially between sequels, you can usually tell. Because I'm trying to think, like, there's a lot of like the really big examples, but are there any like smaller examples that you're like, oh, I don't think they really thought that out?
Well, I was gonna bring up Rocky. The very end of the first Rocky, they say no rematch, no rematch, and then the very beginning of Rocky 2, they're like, I want a rematch. So like, definitely not planned out because they would have.
Yeah, I think that happens especially with movies that they don't plan on being such a big success, and then they are, and they're like, oh, well, now we got to do a sequel, and that's a big part of culture now is like sequels. Are there any movies that got sequels that shouldn't get sequels? I can think of a few.
I can think of a few as well.
All right, well, what's a movie that you think shouldn't have gotten a sequel?
A movie that I think shouldn't have gotten a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story 3.
So you're not even thinking of a movie that shouldn't have gotten a sequel. You're thinking of a trilogy that shouldn't have gotten a fourth.
Yeah. I think Toy Story 4.
I mean, like, y'all know how I feel about that movie. I was gonna bring it up when we were talking about, like, movies of 2019. But, like, I really like that movie. And, like, I just think Toy Story 3 was such a good conclusion to their time with Andy and how they were gonna move on. But I think it left the toys in a spot to where, like, they had to resolve how they were going to be as, like, their own family unit. And, like, I watched it at a time when I was about to move away to college and stuff like that. And I was, like, leaving my group of friends to go, like, try to find, like, a new community, like, moving away to school. So that kind of, like, story throughout that movie of, like, moving on, and, like, Woody at the end, spoiler I guess, where he, like, decides to, like, leave the main group of characters and go off with Bo Peep and be a lost toy, which is, like, their way of him being found at the end, and, like, him finding a new purpose because he's never going to be able to let go of Andy, so he's just going to be lost and just be able to do whatever he wants to make him feel good. It, like, spoke to me really well. And then, like, I watched that with my parents. That was, like, one of the last movies I watched with my parents before I left. And they loved it from the idea that it's, like, a parenting movie more than anything else. Where, like, it's Woody having to take care of Forky because that's what's most important to his kid at the time. And it's Woody, like, having to, like, step up and, like, be responsible for something because he's, like, just a passionate character. And that's, like, what drives his character motive. So my parents really like that, and Forky is just absolutely hilarious because he is trash, and so am I.
I do like Forky.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't think I would ever argue that it's a bad movie because I don't think any of the Toy Story movies are bad. I just think it's an unnecessary movie, and that's what I would say. I'd just be like, we don't need it. Like that's kind of my thoughts with, like, Solo. I think Solo's a really good movie, but I think it's completely unnecessary. Like, I love Solo. I thought it was really good. I might get a lot of hate for that. I think Solo's a really good movie. There's some stupid stuff in it, for sure. Like, all the Star Wars movies have stupid stuff. But I still think it's the best of the prequels. And Solo is a prequel. And so is Rogue One. They're both prequels. But,
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm kind of thrown off because that's the first time I've ever heard someone say that.
It is
because
a
normally
prequel.
they are, like, in their own category, but, like, I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
if it's before Episode 4, it is a prequel. Like, I get what you're saying.
I will say,
but it's still unnecessary.
That's the first time I've ever heard it. But I 100% agree with you.
I know.
It is a prequel.
Do you remember? Well, because when Rogue One came out,
Like, I'm gonna start
that huge,
referring to those movies as that now.
They're prequels. Well, when Rogue One came out, there was that huge movement online. It was like hashtag Rogue One is a prequel. Do you not remember that? It was such a
Rogue
big deal.
One is
Rogue One,
like the most prequel of, like, all of them. Like, it is straight minutes into Episode 4, which is why it's
even including
so
Episode 4.
yeah, like, for real.
Like, straight up overlap.
Yes.
But
there is no overlap.
Solo's a prequel.
It's like this close.
That's what I'm saying. It's like literally minutes. It's which is why that final scene. Ooh, don't even get me started on that.
We'll talk about that in the summer.
Yeah. Back to I just thought of a movie that definitely didn't need a sequel.
Okay.
Do y'all remember that Tooth Fairy movie with Dwayne the Rock
Dwayne Johnson? And then they did it with
Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah. don't know who thought that was a good idea, but it wasn't.
It really wasn't.
You have me just thinking of like Dwayne the Rock Johnson's like movie career now, and like he did like Tooth Fairy, and then he did like Game Plan, which was like that like Disney Channel movie, and then like now he'll do like one action movie, like super action movie a year, and then now he's like doing like he's in this Jumanji series that's gonna like keep going and probably get a third. And
He's got Jungle Cruise coming up.
Jungle Cruise, like
He's Black Adam in the DC EU.
yeah, like
He's got
he's
like all this stuff.
He's like going like all over the place, and like
He's going to town on these movies.
Jumanji's probably like the best thing I've seen him in, because it like gives him like a way to where like he's doing more type of character stuff, because like
It's not
like the
just
nature
him.
of those movies is like he's acting like a teenager, and like he's acting like a nervous teenager in the first one, and then like acting like an old man in the second one, and it's like all over the place, and it's like really, and then him and Kevin Hart just like mesh well, because like they're just friends off the screen too, so like them on screen is just fantastic.
Yeah, they're such a good duo. I
But
just
like
think they're so
you
funny
saying
together.
him and Tooth Fairy reminded me of the movie The
I
Game
forgot
Plan
about
on
the Larry the
on
Cable Guy
Disney
Tooth Fairy.
I
That's
really
the
want to
only-
say that he did Game Plan and then turned around and basically did Pain and Gain, like the just most other direction movie. Like,
yeah.
family actor.
He's all over the place.
Really is all over the place. And then, what movie was I thinking about? that
I mean,
he's in?
well, here let's do this. Let's pull up IMDb.
he is the Kevin Bacon of our generation. Just everywhere.
And we're just gonna see
in every single movie.
Let's just list off all his most recent movies, because I just want to really just see it for giggles.
I mean, I'm actually really intrigued by Jungle Cruise, because the last time Disney made movies based off of a attraction that was at Disney World,
Pirates.
it
Pirates.
other than some little bumps here and there, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But
So
like,
The
let's just
pirate
go
movies
through
are
his
pretty
last.
Pirates of the
his last
Caribbean
movies.
can be definitely thrown in that category of trilogies that did not need a fourth.
I haven't
saying.
seen the fourth.
Because the
Pirates.
original three, like, that is like a perfect arc, and it's so well done. But like
Yeah.
everything
So here,
since then is like
I got it pulled up.
Alright,
So we got The Rock. We got Jumanji, Fast and Furious, so the Hobbs and Shaw, Fighting with My Family, Skyscraper, Rampage, The Other Jumanji, Baywatch, The Fate of the Furious, Moana, which was really good, Central Intelligence, which is pretty funny but also
I
kind of
forgot
whack.
he was in Moana. He was really good in that.
Yeah.
Another Fast and the Furious. What? Fast and Furious Supercharged? What is that?
That's the
Oh,
ride.
that's the ride at Universal.
Oh, okay. I was so confused. San Andreas, Furious 7, Hercules. Remember when he did Hercules?
Oh.
Fast and Furious 6, Pain and Gain, Empire State, G.I. Joe, Snitch.
G.I. Joe. Okay.
Okay, you guys remember Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Yes.
They did pretty good. And then Journey 2 with The Rock. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah, just
Fast 5. They really just threw him into the Fast and Furious movies. Have you guys ever seen his SNL sketch, the franchise Viagra sketch?
no.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll have to watch it, but it's his whole bit when he hosted SNL, which he's hosted like so many times. He comes on and he's doing this commercial for Viagra. He is franchise Viagra. Franchises bring him in to revitalize the franchise. And so he's talking about like Fast and Furious. You want to make a more action movie? Bring in Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Journey to the Center of the Earth. Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Like, you just bring him into the franchise and you just like revitalize the franchise, bring it back and make it good again. And that was like the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
The Other Guys, Tooth Fairy.
The other guys.
Do you know that he was
He's
in?
not even. He's barely in that movie, dude.
Do you guys remember Planet 51? He was in
Yes. He was. Wasn't he the lead?
that. No, he was Captain Charles T. Baker. He was the captain. He
I
was in
do
Race
not
to Witch
remember
Mountain and Get Smart.
I remember
He's
that.
just been in so
I
many
remember the
movies.
Race to Witch Mountain
remember
just
Get
because there's
Smart.
like the one meme about it, to where she predicts what he's gonna say before he says it, and then like it became a meme template. That's the only reason I know that movie.
I
That's not
actually
even.
liked.
That's not
I
even
actually
the meme.
liked that
That's not
movie.
even what the movie's about. Like she says she's a witch, or something like that, or an alien. She says she's an alien.
Yeah.
And he's like.
He
That's all.
just turns around, lifts up, does the eyebrow thing, that weird smolder eyebrow thing he does in Jumanji.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that they just call that out in Jumanji. Just like, this is something you've been
Smoldering
doing in
intensity.
your movies for like your entire career. So now we're just gonna like straight just call it what it is in Jumanji,
strength.
and we're gonna give it to you as one of your special abilities. It was the first time I saw that. I like
so funny.
in the first time I watched the first one, I was like, it was so good.
Yo,
Yeah, one of my favorite things that they did in there was making Kevin Hart's character, one of his weaknesses, cake. I just thought that was so funny, especially in the new one where they're like, "Would you like some cake?" And he goes, "Oh, no cake." And it was just
And then like he
such a good
freaks out
scene.
about it, like when he's like not even Kevin Hart anymore. It's like
Yeah.
just the person like in the real world. He's just like no cake.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like he's just that's such a funny thing to think about. Just this character's just traumatized by cake because he ate the cake and
He just
exploded.
exploded everywhere.
cake makes me explode. My favorite part of the next level, the sequel to the Jumanji movie, is when they switch bodies. It's a spoiler. It's been out for a while.
Yeah, it
so
has.
I'm good with
It's like
that.
over a month. If you haven't seen it, you don't
Yeah.
really care that much.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they switch bodies. Fridge gets back into Kevin Hart, or Mouse, and he goes, "That's why I'm the backpack guy."
Yeah. One of my favorite lines for the first one, he's just like, go like get in the water or something like that. He's like, you never get in the water with a backpack. Like there's just something about like that line with Kevin Hart's delivery. Like it killed me. I couldn't handle it.
You don't get in the water with a backpack on.
Everybody knows that. It just like snaps. It's so good.
Another great line is from Jack Black. It's Fridge. In the next level is when he goes, "At least last time I was black." It's just,
Jack Black is like the underlying star of like that of those movies because he's the ones that like his like person that's like controlling his character in the game like changes the most to where
He
like
plays so many different people.
he's all over the place.
He goes
and then in the
full
first
on
the first
Split.
the first movie when he's just a teenage girl, like he kills
Oh,
it
so good.
Absolutely.
because it is so like it's almost over the top, but it's just right at the line.
That's what I was worried
and
about.
it's perfect.
I was worried going into it that it was going to be like him doing just your standard white girl impression. It wasn't going to be very funny. It was just I was afraid it wasn't going to feel very original. But I was wrong. Like he did really good. There were some times where it was like, okay, that was the easy joke to make. But I feel like most of the time it was like just really funny. Like
The scene where in the first one where he's teaching Karen Gillan's character how to flirt was top notch.
so
Because it's
funny.
like Jack Black like flipping his hair that's not
It's
there.
so funny.
it's so good.
Oh my goodness. Those are such. I feel like they're very well-made movies, and they've already confirmed that they're going to come out with a third for this new trilogy of Jumanji, which is really crazy that The Rock and like that whole team has revitalized like Jumanji, the original one with Robin Williams, was a good movie, but it was never considered an A-list property. It was very much a B-list property. It was a good movie, has a good following. It's kind of a cult classic in some ways. Like I would watch it, like it's a good movie, but it's not a blockbuster. It's not an A-list movie. But now they've turned it into an A-list property. Like it's a blockbuster movie, and this next one I feel like is going to do very, very well, which is crazy that they've been able to do that. And I think that we're going to start seeing that trend even more.
Yeah.
Just revitalizing old movies and making them into new properties.
just as long as we don't do RoboCop.
Yeah.
So, I think to wind down here, we'll just talk about movies we're excited for coming up this year.
Ooh, I think that's good.
We got a lot
I
of
like
movies
that.
coming up.
We do. Man, I got to think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like thinking ahead to movies this year. I still got movies I need to see from 2019.
That too.
Yeah. I think I'm really excited. Really excited for the trailer that just dropped. Morbius. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer for it yet.
The trailer is
heard it was good.
crazy.
Crazy, dude. But it looks
I watched it
really good.
when I watched it for the first time. Like I was honestly just shook. Like there's so many little hints that like all this time we've had like the constant back and forth between Marvel Studios and Sony about rights to Spider-Man and Spider-Man characters and stuff like that, and of course like what's gonna happen with the Tom Holland Spider-Man and like where those two movies have gone and how it connects to like the overall MCU. And then Sony was like, all right, they kind of like unbudged and they're like, we're gonna make a third Spider-Man movie and we're gonna let him stay in the MCU because it's a good thing for everybody. And then now they're like still trying to do this. They're doing this Morbius movie with Jared Leto, and I'm I think Jared Leto's gonna be really, really good in it. And
So
it's gonna be,
what is it? What is it about? Like, kind of, because I haven't seen the trailer. Like, if you were to
It's like-
summarize it in just like 30 seconds.
It's like, so Morbius is like a vampire, but it's a Spider-Man anti-hero, like similar to Venom. To
So
where, like,
it's a superhero movie.
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
it's Sony in association with Marvel Studios.
Oh, really?
So it's like supposed to be like in the same like Sony verse that Venom is in, and like where like Venom 2 is gonna be in, where
But
like
it's-
Woody
but it's
Harrelson comes in as
associated-
Carnage.
Oh, so it's not associated with Marvel Studios. It's just Sony's Marvel, right?
Yes.
It's not the Disney.
But
Marvel.
we're gonna get there to where like they've started to drop hints in this trailer that it's gonna be like directly connected to the MCU. Because I guess spoiler, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, go watch it.
At me.
But
Yeah.
like the last shot is
I'm gonna cover my ears real quick. Go ahead.
Michael Keaton's Vulture, and he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" And then it just cuts away.
There's also a part where he's running through the alleyway, and there's the mural of Spider-Man, and it's his murderer on it,
Yeah,
which could be.
and like everybody's like, "Oh, it's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man like in the mural," and I was like, I think it's just because that's just how like somebody like graffitied it on there. Like it's saying murder is like the way more important part to that because it shows that like it's Tom Holland Spider-Man because of how Far From Home left off.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm opening my ears.
We'll start talking about another movie. I'm really excited for Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, I'm okay. Well, it's just called Doolittle now. I'm excited for it, but I'm also very disappointed in them because I really like the original title. The original title was The Voyage of Dr. Dolittle. That's such a great movie name. It separates it from the Eddie Murphy one, which is also not at all like the books, because this is very close to the original books. And then they went down to just Dr. Dolittle, and now it's Doolittle, unless they've changed it back to Dr. Dolittle, which wouldn't
I don't
surprise
think
me.
they have.
But yeah, I'm definitely excited for that one.
I just like Robert Downey Jr. and I like
yeah.
to see him on screen again because I'm sad that he's dead.
One that I really want to see is
Rest in peace, Iron
Free
Man.
Guy with Ryan
Yes.
Reynolds. Looks really funny.
Very funny.
Yeah, we saw the trailer for that and that looked really good. I'm really excited for Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie that's coming out this year.
Yeah.
It's like somewhere within like a month from now. Big Christopher Nolan guy. Dark Knight trilogy are some of my favorite movies, and just excited to see where he's going next because a lot of his original screenplays and original writing is really, really good. Inception's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think we also have to talk about Sonic.
Yeah.
It has been a journey
is
for our
a
head hog,
journey.
man.
I will probably go watch Sonic in theaters, even though I don't think it's going to be very good. I'll probably give them my money because I appreciate the animators
I
that completely
respect it.
reanimated that whole movie. Like, I think some people think, oh, they just changed the design and it just kept all the same. But, like, no, I was looking at it, like, they had to completely reanimate everything because they changed so much that they went through and they reanimated the whole movie. And kind of changed the story a little bit, I think.
You know what's
I don't
a funny thing?
But, like, I just respect that, like, the grind.
The same guy that's like the main like character in Sonic is the same dude from Hop.
Yes.
And it's like another movie where he's just like in a buddy film with like this CGI character, and everybody's like, is this all this guy does?
Yep. I haven't seen him since Hop.
Neither have
Is-
I.
Is he the guy that's in the Peter Rabbit movie too?
No.
Okay, or is that someone else? Okay.
That's somebody else.
Okay.
If he was the guy, Peter Rabbit movie, like that's
He'd just be like,
it.
that's his niche.
I mean, if he was the guy in Peter Rabbit, that'd probably just be a Hop sequel that didn't need to be made because Hop wasn't good either.
Or the Peter Rabbit sequel coming out.
Yeah, I know. It's coming up. Oh, there's so many movies, and I'm
It's gonna
excited
be-
for a lot of them.
It's
and
gonna be
some of
hard to
them
top
not.
2019 though. 2019 was a very
2019
good year for
was-
me.
No, we've got 2 Pixar movies in 2020. We're in good shape.
And a Bill and
Onward
Ted.
and Soul, like
And a Bill and Ted movie.
yeah, like
coming back.
it's
Coming
gonna be a
back,
good year
baby.
for movies. I think that's a pretty good pilot. If I've ever recorded one before, which I haven't.
Same.
I mean,
But,
neither have I.
So, I think this is a good place to leave it off.
Yeah.
And
We got people clapping outside, so
I
definitely.
think they're excited for this as well.
We have fans, guys.
We
Yeah.
do. We have a
3
big
at
following. So yeah, we at the time that this is dropping, episode 1 should be dropping as well. So you can actually just, if you want to, go right into that one, and we're gonna talk about the Cars trilogy. We're gonna talk about what's good about it, what's bad about it, how we would fix it, maybe how the universe works because it's really confusing, and kind of talk about the good one, Cars 1, the bad one, Cars 2, and the one that we don't really remember, which is Cars 3. So I think that's all we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And yeah, this has been Act 4, a podcast about movies.
Peace out, guys.